Hi, this is Brittany Willis. This is my Week 2 Multiple Intelligences, the Brain, and Theory Application presentation. First, I'm going to talk about multiple intelligence. So, multiple intelligence is a theory that was introduced by Howard Gardner in an attempt to explain the different ways in which people are intelligent. These intelligences work together and create a unique formula for each person. He came up with 8 categories that I have listed over here: verbal linguistic, logical mathematical, naturalistic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, visual spatial, and bodily kinesthetic. I'm going to focus on 3 today. The first one I'm going to talk about is musical. So people that are musically intelligent are usually very skilled musically. They're able to recognize different patterns in music and produce their own music. They might be good at performing and singing or playing music instruments. They have a knowledge of music, of rhythm, of pitch, and they might use music as a learning tool. I actually had a class last year that we said was like our musically inclined class. For every single unit, we had to find a song that matched the concept because they just really were able to retain information that way. Next, I'm going to talk about naturalistic. So these people they might have a strong relationship to animals and nature. They might be interested in weather. They enjoy being outdoors, and they're very connected to the environment. Another intelligence would be logical mathematical. This is linked to science and math skills. They often think of logic when analyzing a problem, and they have the ability to think critically. My personal strengths and strongest intelligence would be logical mathematical. I tend to think things through very logically. I use critical thinking often, and I really love science. Next for me would be naturalistic because I am very fond of animals and I enjoy spending time outdoors whenever I can. Some improvements that I could make and skills I could strengthen would be my interpersonal skills. Although I work with children and I do find it easy to connect with them, I tend to find it more difficult to do that with my adult peers. I sometimes think it's hard to read people and stress over interactions that I have with them and if I've perceived them in the right way. In my own learning, I've often gravitated towards science subjects, especially biology. This kind of really shows my strengths in logical, mathematical, and naturalistic because it's really a combination of those two. I do prefer using formulas or equations to solve problems, and I like being given the chance to think critically on subjects, present questions, and explain my own thinking. I'm going to talk about learning styles next. So, what is a learning style? A learning style is the different ways in which we best intake knowledge. It is the methods that best help us retain what is being taught. Some examples of this could be visual or auditory. A visual learner would prefer any visual aid to help them, like videos, charts, reading things, using symbols. Those kind of students really need to see what they're learning. Color coding or creating drawings can be very helpful for these students. Another style would be auditory learning. So these students really need to hear what is being taught to understand it. Things like lectures, verbal directions, podcasts, those are all preferred methods of learning for them. Anytime reading is done, it's usually done out loud to fully understand and process it. My own learning style would kind of be a combination of the two. I do prefer to learn through taking notes during lectures, but I also like to incorporate videos and graphics to help kind of study and retain that knowledge. During my time at Bay Path, I think I'll use a strategy of color coding my notes, and I like the idea of reading out loud when I'm doing my research assignments, just to better help retain that knowledge. Next, we're going to talk about the brain and learning. So, first, to understand the brain and how it learns, we're going to talk about stress in the brain. So, when a student undergoes stress, it affects their brain's ability to learn. The amygdala, in a heightened stress mode, it actually prevents the student from being able to retain new information. Called an affective filter, the brain will literally not be capable of processing and storing new information during this time. Learning is scientifically impossible when the brain is experiencing stress, which kind of leads into SEL and why that's so important. So, SEL is social emotional learning. It is the focus of social emotional needs of students. This can include self-regulation, emotion identification, social interactions, coping strategies. There's so much that goes into SEL. SEL is so crucial because it extends past academics and really helps students gain these real life skills that they're going to need. Next, we're going to talk about application of theory and fish in a tree, which I've really been enjoying reading. So first I'm going to talk about Mr. Daniels. He takes the time to support each student and their personal skills, hobbies, and ideas. For example, when the students are making fun of Albert's presentation on his water, Mr. Daniels dismisses them and actually compliments Albert. The same is said for Keisha and Allie. He kind of emphasizes the importance of each student's item and how it represents them. I think he's using this as a tool to better understand each student and kind of cater to their multiple intelligences. He supports them emotionally as well, while he takes the time to speak to Allie about her drawing. He doesn't present it in a way that she's in trouble. Instead, he focuses on her and offers her affirmation, and this is something that Allie's not very used to. This creates a positive relationship with him, and it actually drives Allie to want to work harder and impress him rather than being uninterested in her academics. Mr. Daniels shows cares for both students' emotional intelligence and their SEL needs. He creates assignments to help students express their creative freedom and offers conversations to strengthen relationships and better understand them. Like Mr. Daniels, I would love to incorporate the idea of a free writing journal for students. I think it's such a good tool to use when trying to understand students as individuals, and it also encourages students who may be shying away from writing and make it more appealing to them. And finally, here are some of my references.